Robin's getting ready to go to the Outer Banks for a week.
Has a solution that will fit your needs. From patio awnings and solar shades to window awnings and deck canopies, a custom
Recording in progress.
This evening. As the first order, I'd like everyone to rise and face the flag for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Even though this is a special meeting, we still have an agenda item for public comments. It's a one item agenda, but if there's something that somebody wants to talk about that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Otherwise we'll get into the agenda. I mean, if you have anything to say relative to something that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to bring it up. But I'm not seeing any hands up. So we'll get right into the agenda itself. We are in receipt of a resignation letter from Select Board Member Greg Cutler. And the first order of business this evening would be to accept the resignation of Greg Cutler.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Greg Cutler. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so now we'll get into how we're going to fill that seat. State law is very specific as to how we need to address this. The first order of business, which we're not ready to do yet, would be to appoint someone forthwith, to use their words, to fill that position. No matter what our course of action is going forward, the select board, it's incumbent upon the select board to appoint someone as soon as possible. My thoughts on that, and Scott has already made it known that we are accepting letters of intent.
We put that out with the initial notice.
Very wise.
And we've received 3 letters already. Jackie Wilson and Mike Norath and Steve Nichols so far.
And I've been receiving messages and texts, and that's not the way to throw your hat into the ring. You need to submit a letter of intent. And what we'll need to do is figure out a timeline for when we're going to.
Being recorded. Oh, I think Dick is there.
I think that's.
Sorry about that. So we'll have to figure out what the cutoff point is for receiving these letters, and then what our timeline is for making the appointment. Of course, as we've done in the past, we would interview applicants. We break up into teams so that it's not in public session. Two members would interview the people individually, and then we would come to a decision as to who the temporary replacement is going to be. After that's done, that temporary replacement would be replaced at the next election, whether it be a special election or a town meeting in the spring. In that process, to be faithful to how elections are run, I think that the candidates would have to circulate petitions.
Correct.
And we'd have to go through that whole process to get names on the ballot. And then there would be, seeing which way this goes, a special election or the temporary appointment would stay in place until town meeting in the spring. Now, relative to special town meetings, I've been involved with a few of them. Quite often, we don't get as many people as we have in this meeting here tonight. I'm not convinced that we get a good turnout or a good cross-section of voters show up for a special election. Not to say that it's not legal, but I would hope if we decide to go that route, that we would do our best to get the word out that there is an election. My fear with a special election would be that with a low turnout, if there's a candidate with a special interest that has a group of followers that they were able to turn out and vote, that the election could be influenced by a single special interest and maybe not the best course of action for a selection of a member. Not to say that it's not an illegal approach. It's a legal approach and could be done that way. My own personal preference and the way that we've done it in the past is to appoint someone to fill that spot until the spring. There's still 2 years left on Greg's term. So
Can I interrupt for a second?
before I get to
Maybe you were gonna say it, go ahead.
before I even get to that point, if we have a special election and someone is elected through that process, then in the spring, we have to have another election to fill the remainder of that term. So you've got an appointment, you've got a special election, then you've got the regular town meeting in the spring. Was that what you were going to?
Sort of, yes, you're correct in that. If you hold a special election, that person's elected until the next town meeting election.
Right.
And they would have to run again at that point. If you appoint somebody, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, we're on the same page.
And then, since there's 1 year remaining on the term, no matter what course we take to get to town meeting in the spring, the open seat this open seat would have 1 year remaining. It'd be for the unexpired portion of this term because we have 3 3-year terms and 2 2-year terms, which gives us a rotation of 2 members every year. And if we get off balance with that, we'd have 3 some years, 1 another year, and it doesn't work. So we'd have to get back into our rotation. And the election at town meeting, actual town meeting in the spring, in March of 2027, would be to fill that term for the remainder of the term, which is 1 year. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? Okay. And I just, I think that lays it all out there. This is not something unusual. We have 2 members sitting at the table right now that actually got into onto the board through this process. One replaced Wayne Bell and one replaced Todd Nebraska when they both resigned prior to the expiration of their term. And what hardens me from that approach is that they're both still sitting here, although there was a brief period of time when one was not, but they've won subsequent elections. So it's right to meet that. Give me a little confidence in the process. Thank you, Jonathan. But so how to fill the vacancy on the select board? I certainly want to leave it open to discussion.
Someone with a hand up too, when you guys.
We do have somebody with a hand up, Courtney Gallo.
I would, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One of my requests or I guess concerns is that there are so many people who don't understand what the select board's role is in this town. I'm born and raised here, and I don't even think I knew till I came back into doing any sort of politicking in town with my new business as of 5 years. I appreciate that the appointment is yes, because you guys all have been doing this for a long time. But is there an opportunity for us to understand, to put out there what the select board's mission, role, how they operate in town? I'm, and again, I wish I was right there, but I've been in jury duty all day. So I'm appalled that there's not more people sitting in there. This is a huge appointment. You guys make massive decisions for the town. And I don't believe people understand that. So the reason I would like a special election would be, well, and prior to that, to explaining what this means, what what the role is, what you guys are deciding upon for our town, because it's big and massive, and people don't understand that. So I guess that's that's my concern of that that there's not an appointment, because if we were able to put out there what the role, what you would be special electing, then more people would show up.
I appreciate your comments on that. We need to make an appointment no matter which course of which course of direction we choose. By state statute, it says the select board shall appoint someone to fill the vacancy forthwith, which means right away. And then you get to decide whether you're going to go to a special election or wait until the next subsequent scheduled election to fill the position. And each one has its own complications associated with it.
Okay, so you guys,
but-
you make it, you have to appoint somebody right away, and then the special election again would be, would be when?
Well, as soon as we could schedule it, but there's quite a bit that has to happen. Anyone who wants to be elected at the special election would have to circulate petitions to get their name on the ballot. There's waiting periods. It could be, I'm not even gonna put time frame on it, because I don't really know. I haven't.
Months,
At least a month.
I was thinking 3.
Yes.
You have to give them time to get signatures, say 30 days for that. Then you have to warn the meeting, it has to be 30 days, more than 30, but less than 40.
Yeah.
And then they have
So it's
to
probably more
feel.
like 2 months, because then you have to have ballots printed. Elections are not cheap. Election officials are paid. Programming the tabulator can be expensive. I've had discussions with the town clerk who said that there may be a way to handle it in hand. She's checking out the legalities where we don't have special ballots printed by the people that print ballots that go through the machine. And we might be able to do it in-house and save some money that way, but they're still expensive. And it's not to say that should be a limiting factor, but it's not something that's in the budget. We would accommodate it, should that be the direction that we choose to go.
So,
Yeah, Steve, go ahead. Yes, please, to the microphone.
Scott, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but you go on to the town website. And on the town website, Courtney, I'm going to identify it as a select board job description, but there is a wording for it of what the select board's responsibilities are, conflict of interest, whatever. I don't have it in front of me, but there's probably about 20 things on there, and it identifies it on the website.
Thank you, Steve.
so I mean, I would like a clarification first before we move on. Because based on my reading and interpretation, and obviously I've read the information for Vermont League of Cities and Towns. But in your statement, you said that if we were to hold a special election, because that person would then need to rerun again for the remaining year. The Title 24, Chapter 33 says that when a vacancy occurs in any town office, the select board forthwith, by appointing in writing, shall fill such vacancy until an election is held.
Yes,
It does not state town meeting. It does not state special.
right. It could be one or the other.
Right. So when you go to the preceding chapter, which is 962, which is a town at a special meeting may fill a vacancy in a town office. My question is, would not the special election qualify that person to complete the full term?
No, it only takes them to the next town meeting.
From this picture.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Kyle Turner, resident. This paper. It says. Where was I? This means that the appointee, a person appointed by the select board serves until an election is had. This means that an appointee will remain in office until the next annual town meeting, if no special town meeting is called, at which times voters will elect or replace him to fill the balance of the office's unexpired term. If a special meeting is called, the person elected to the position will serve the remainder of the office's original term. So I'm reading that as if we had the special election, they'd be for 2 years.
That's how I read it, Tim. So with that being said, there is the possibility that we could appoint someone in a temporary status, which it is temporary. We have to appoint someone immediately. But that the special election would be for the remainder of the term, the full remainder of the term, not just until town meeting in March of 27.
I do have that wording in front of me, and I believe I stand corrected.
We'll get
Based on that.
clarification on that.
Yeah, we'll need to get
Because
clarification on that, because
The
that's,
league attorneys sent similar language too, but in there they put that they would have to run again.
yes.
Right.
So we've had opinions on both sides of that, so we'll get that
So
clarification.
I will confirm that.
So let me modify what I said, that if we appoint someone and then hold a special election based on the information that we have in front of us, that may either fill the unexpired term, or it may take us to the next town meeting, and we'll get clarification on that.
Yeah.
Again, I think you should address it. She's our hand up again.
Our town treasurer.
My suggestion would be, don't incur the expense of a special election. If you did want to have a special election, I would say do it in November when you're already printing ballots for the general election anyway, and you'll get the best turnout. So something to consider.
Town meeting will come
Town meeting will be until March. I'm talking about November.
March, yeah.
Yeah. November, you would get a good turnout, or town meeting, you'll get a good turnout. But to me, for the reasons you laid out, it doesn't make sense to hold a special election other than that cycle, because it's expensive and the turnout's poor, which isn't going to be a good representation for what the town really wants or needs.
I concur with you on that.
Thanks.
That is a scheduled election. It doesn't say necessarily town meeting.
There are already being ballots printed and we get a good turnout in November, so.
Okay. Bill.
Thank you.
First off, Mr. Cutler isn't here. I don't see him on the Zoom either, but I would like to thank him for his service. I hope the board will do something appropriate to recognize his service and maybe even humiliate him a little bit, you know. He deserves that a little bit. But anyways, I trust this board. We elected you to make the proper selection on a temporary basis, and then give the town plenty of time for other people, give potential candidates to study what the requirement is, to look at it, and to properly do the process without being rushed, and then hold a special meeting when we have our next town meeting. It's, yes, by the time we do this and we get into the summer, our history has been any special meeting, the turnout is abysmally low. And I think our best chance of getting the best representation of the community and the greatest possible number of good qualified candidates, we need time to allow that to happen and to have it take place at our next town meeting.
I I don't want to fully dismiss the idea of having it in November when we're having an election,
Oh, either, yeah, that's,
which generally would get a pretty good turnout, so.
okay. Next general election, shall I say? Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
I might-
Steve, if you have comments, direct them through me. If you have a question for Bill.
Yes. That, I would favor that we do it at the next general election when we have a general turnout. November would be appropriate, yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Can I just add something to that? I know, Heidi, is it both of us that will have to be on next year? So having 3 people on that would be
That might be confusing.
a lot.
Yeah.
Would it be-
Another good reason. I'm a 2-year.
No, and you're just elected. Oh, sorry, you're right, you're right.
Yeah, for another year.
I think for me, the thing that's difficult on this is that as I've looked back at when Heidi, when you were appointed, and Lori, when you were appointed, it wasn't 3 days after the most recent election. So this position, however obviously we have to appoint someone, period. The question is, how long should that person be serving in that temporary role for me? Because this is the longest this person could potentially serve, given how soon the resignation happened after the election. It wasn't, November of, something came up around Thanksgiving and town meeting is right around the corner. This is an entire year until our next scheduled town meeting.
Good time to understand the job in March. It gets in November. I mean, unless you do it in November, which I think is a good idea, because that is not that far away.
I don't know, and I'm not speaking for Anita on this, but I don't know whether we can combine municipal with those elections. I do know just anecdotally, because, I had people who were in other town meetings, that the select board members, for instance, in Peru, were not chosen by a ballot going through the tabulator. It was done by a piece of paper and they wrote it on the chalkboard, which clearly is not as great of an expense as something else. I understand the importance, or the importance of getting a good turnout. I also want to point out that we have also some really, really important things that are coming up. And I just want this to be as transparent and without any, I don't want anyone to come to us and see, even though, some people will say, well, we trust you to make that decision. If we were to select a certain person and they were to vote a certain way on something big that's going to come up, it could create this tension that we did that on purpose. That's my concern. Because there's some really big things coming up.
Good point. I'm gonna go in order over here on the Zoom. Joanne O'Connor had her name up, or hand up first.
Right, yes, I like the idea of doing it in November. I think that makes sense. Appoint who you have to appoint now, then November is the perfect time because there's going to be an election. If there's some reason it can't be part of the general election, like you say, Jonathan, I don't see why that would be. So that's what I would suggest, doing it in November when candidates can have the time to get their petitions, market themselves, do what they need to do, and then people would know who's on the ballot for that, as well as, all the other elections we have to make.
Primary.
The question's been raised whether you can have a local election.
In my experience, I think you can.
I was gonna say, I believe we've voted.
We've done that before where you notice a special town meeting for the same day
Yes.
as election.
Was that before universal ballots being mailed out to everyone? Because I'm just wondering if there is because this is a very specific thing for Manchester, if that's something that would affect the mailing of those ballots.
Well, we shouldn't speculate. We
Yeah.
have to figure it out.
This is something we can.
I know.
find out.
But it's a reasonable question. Audra, you are next.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your transparency. I can't think of a more critical time. So I just want to say thank you for that. My question is, and forgive me if I'm not as familiar with the select board as I could be, but when you say that you are going to appoint someone, is there a committee that appoints someone, or is there a pool of names, as you said, that they have responded with enthusiasm and interest, and then you pick from that pile? I'm just not sure where the kind of the pool of people comes from.
Yeah, let me outline that again. And like I said, we have 2 members of the board sitting here that were actually appointed to the board before running for re-election at town meeting, that actually got on the board through this process. What we do is we solicit as best we can letters of intent from people that want the position. And then we don't want to interview these people in public session because we don't know what twists and turns it might possibly take. So we interview these people in pairs. So it's not a majority of the board. And that way we can get we can kind of have a give and take that would get maybe a little deeper into the discussion than you'd be able to in open session. And then the whole board would confer and make the appointment so that everybody's opinions got heard from the board itself. That's the way we've done it in the past, and it has worked well. The piece, of course, that people might be a little bit concerned about is that the interviews are in closed session, and I can understand that. But I think it gives us the latitude to get a little more deeply into our discovery in order to make the best possible decision for you. Just speaking for myself, I don't particularly base my decision on what this individual's position might be on specific topics. It's more based on what experience they can bring to the board. Can they bring a different perspective than what we have now? Do I feel they can work with the board as it exists right now so that we don't spin our wheels too much? How quickly can they step in and fill the position? Figures into it, but not necessarily their position on any given topic. To me, that's secondary to the other items. Is there any more relative to the process itself, the appointment process? And I still need to get back to Courtney, but Bill.
I'm guessing that you well publicly advertise seeking candidates, and then when you break up into the teams of two, however you do that, that each team would interview each candidate.
Yes.
Right, so that they get the cross references, then you'll get together and make your choices. And we would have a certain period of time for people to submit their applications too, for you.
Yeah, and that's
That alone.
That's what we have to decide here this evening. That's a piece that really needs to be decided is what's the time frame for submission of applications? And then how quickly can we get this process going? Because the state very clearly says forthwith.
Clear, very.
Well, you just keep the process moving forward and give reasonable timeframes, and
And that's why we call this special
it
meeting.
would
Need to get
fulfill
out.
the requirement. in my opinion.
Yes, you next, and then Carl.
Hi, Paige Vignola, resident. So thank you very much. would put forward the idea of instead of waiting till November, I mean, we do have primaries in the state of Vermont in August, so that would shorten the timeline that one would necessarily need to have an appointee so that we would make that open to possible, an election at that point in time. I think primaries would also get a fairly good turnout, right? I mean, people do care about that sort of thing. So in terms of timeline, I think that might be feasible. But I also want to address what Courtney said about people not knowing what the select board does. And I think what you do is obviously incredibly important. And from the times that I come in on a Tuesday night and sit here in order to be able to know what's going on, there's nobody here and there's nobody who's online. And like, I think that if people actually knew what kind of important decisions you all were making, that maybe we would have better attendance, seeing that there actually is a Zoom option. So I know Steve said, yeah, it's all written in the website. That's great. But 15 years as a high school teacher, I can guarantee you it doesn't matter if it's written down. So I think there needs to be some way perhaps of getting word out there to people who are maybe, we'll call them reluctant readers about, what it is that you all do and why the job that you hold is as important as it is. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I say we could do something at the library. It is Civic Education Week this week. Obviously, it's too soon to be able to do any of that, but I feel like it is really important to get people in the town more engaged with what is happening in the town. I know that in the past that used to be like connections with the high school and whatnot. I just think that we really should be focusing on that too. And this would give a great opportunity, knowing that we're coming into a special election or perhaps we're coming into a special election for a new select board member. We could have a really great opportunity to get the town engaged with what actually happens in this room.
The one good point, not the one good point, one good point that you made was the connection to the high school. And we used to have student members on various boards and commissions, and that was coordinated through the high school. And they were the ones that withdrew. It wasn't us. We would have.
I'm going up there next Thursday to speak to their civics class. They asked me to come and talk to them about local government
too.
So.
There you go.
Yeah, so they're trying.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I would be happy to coordinate with anybody in town, select board, whatever, about how we could perhaps maybe engage the public with a little bit of education about what goes on with the select board and with the town offices. I just think that it would be really helpful.
I have an idea. What if Scott does a video talking about the job and saying what select board members do when we put it on the town website? Just a short 30-second video, just saying.
I would be happy to have Scott do it because I've been sitting at.
I think that's a great approach. I think we probably need to have 5 or 6 different approaches in order to be able to get enough people to engage. But I think this is a really great opportunity to try and pull people in with more civic engagement.
I've been sitting at this table since before some of you were born.
Close.
And yeah, very close. And I'm still not really sure what we do.
I would, I know you've got a couple of hands out there. The term forthwith obviously has a definition of immediately. I do know, however, that there is some gray area around that. Sandgate has been without a 5th select board member for now 10 months.
That's ridiculous.
Arlington went 3 to 4 months before filling their position. So
I think we can do a quality job. I know that we can because we have in the past. But if I was pressed to do it immediately, we could make a bad decision. I mean, I don't want to do that. I want to make the right decision. I want to make the right decision for everyone here in the room and on Zoom. And I want to make sure that we create a board that represents a broad spectrum of the community, but still works together. I mean, there's a lot to it. And we do make incredibly important decisions that affect people's abilities to work here, live here, and raise a family here. I mean, we don't take this lightly. It's an awesome responsibility, and I've never stepped away and said, well, I can just make this decision because it doesn't affect me. I know that it affects you. So, and we all feel that way. Carl, since you haven't spoken, you're next, and Courtney, you're still in the wings. Carl, go ahead.
Thanks. First of all, I think it's been said before, but I really appreciate the work that you folks on the select board do. And I think there's probably a lot of reasons why the Kilburn room and the Zoom is not filled. I have to think one of those reasons is that the town trusts your judgment. So I think that's a big factor you need to think about. I have a weird suggestion, and part of it, is the fact that I'm naturally someone who likes to see opposite positions and see if there's some middle ground, some way to reach consensus. So here's I see Scott Moore. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Logistically, I don't know how to do it, but I don't think it's impossible. What I would suggest is you come up with whatever reasonable time frame you want to for people to submit letters of intent to be on the board. After people do that, I would put every person's letter on the town website, and I would hope there's some way that's not too complicated for people in the town to be able to read all those letters and to vote in some way, not officially, but to voice their opinions of who they would like to see based on the different people who are running and their different letters of intent. This can't be impossible. Buckminster Fuller thought 30 years ago that's how we'd be doing elections by now. So I'm not a tech guy, but I can't believe some young fellow can't spend an hour and come up with some way to do that.
The difficulty in that approach is that, first of all, thank you for your kind words of trust. And building off of that, we're not in a referendum type of government. We're a representative form of government. And you do put your trust in us to make decisions, because we can't go to the public in a special meeting to have them vote on every decision that we make. So most of the decisions that we make are based on our experience and our review of the issue, and we make a decision on your behalf.
Okay, Ivan, maybe I wasn't clear. I agree with you. I think you 4 members need to make the decision, period. Absolutely no one else. What I'm suggesting is that you would have more of an informed choice.
And here's where I'm going to cut your suggestion off at the knees. I have run for this position in times when there was a lot of tension, a lot of controversy, and I was the incumbent and unpopular in certain circles. If you read the newspapers during that time period, I would say 75% of the letters were tearing me down, criticizing me. That doesn't bother me. I hold a public office, and I want people to criticize me if they're not happy with me. If you were to take that sampling of letters, you would say, well, the community is overwhelmingly not behind this guy. I won the election in a landslide. And I'm not just saying that in a Trump fashion. It wasn't 51%. It was 3-1 against a person who grew up here in town. So you can't take a sampling of comments without having an actual warned election and take that as the voice of the community. Because the people who are most directly affected, and this is where I got into how a special election can be influenced. If somebody has a special interest to them, and they know somebody that will, and Jonathan spoke about this in the other perspective, but somebody who has a particular feeling relative to an important issue, that could win the day. Because in a special election, if a special interest group shows up in mass, they can outnumber the other people that showed up because you don't get a good turnout. It's the same dynamic as people submitting letters. I don't think the special election, there's a good potential that a special election wouldn't give us the cross section that we need to get a true reading of what the community wants. And so in a very complicated and roundabout way, what I'm saying is, I don't want to base my decision. Certainly people can tell me what they think, but I'm certainly not going to base my decision on comments that are made outside of the process. And I think we'll have to talk about this. You tend to get people to apply to an appointment that wouldn't necessarily run for office. I think that was probably true in both of your situations. And of course, once they got here, it's so much fun, they just couldn't step away. But the same people that might be a little reluctant to actually run for office might not want to have a public criticism of themselves out there. I'm not expressing it well. I'm having trouble formulating the words, but I'm not convinced that that's going to be the best service to the people that might apply.
I agree.
We have Courtney still.
Courtney's still there and the only one with her hand up now. So Courtney, go ahead.
It's good. It's good to hear all of you. It's informative. Steve, I appreciate your comment about that. It's on the website, as Paige said. I work in a shop that no one reads signs that even just say donut. So they're not going to go on. There's 9 of you here tonight, passionate about this, in a town of 5,000 people, 6,000 people. So yes.
Courtney, 2 of the 9 have already thrown their hat into the ring for this appointment. So,
but I worry again. I hear what you're saying, Ivan. I agree with you. A special election can bring, a big group in. But again, this is a problem at this point in time with the ability of communication that we have, that there's only this amount of people here. Well, 9 of you, and then there's some people online to fulfill this. So I like November because if that, again, you have to go with what brings the most people there. But I look at what's the stem of the problem. I'm an educator. I'm a 33-year educator. So what's the stem of the problem? The stem of the problem is people don't understand what you guys do. And so what is our responsibility as a town to at this point in time in 2026, to let people understand what your role is and how vital it is. And that is, and again, we used to, I had kids at Long Trail who were on the board at the rec area. You said, Ivan, they used to come in. Yes, get young people involved. There are lots of, I have 2 30-year-olds who live in town here, that we have a number, there's a whole new group. How do we get them involved? How do we get them to understand how important this is? That's so right away we have to, there's an issue right at hand to get this role filled. The larger issue is, how do we help the community understand how important the select board in Manchester is, and educate and get it out there. Whether it's, social media. I mean, I talk constantly now at the donut shop, and tell people, everyone loves to complain. I was like, get involved. Come on. Paige was the one who got me going back, down there. So that's my concern, that we're, how do you get people in November there to make the best decision for our community?
I agree. You get no argument from me there. We need to do we need to do a better job of publicizing what it is we do. However, we're not limited to just the 18 people that are sitting in this room and sitting on Zoom, because GNAT is streaming this meeting live, and a lot of people do watch it. I know my wife does, watches it on the GNAT YouTube channel. So there are people watching this, but just not participating directly. Back when we used to be on the local cable channel, our ratings were high. I'd walk down the street, people, hey, I was watching on TV tonight. I'm going, do you have nothing else to do? But people are interested and people do watch. I think we've all gotten comments from people that watch the meetings on YouTube and said, hey, I saw this happening. So but I do agree with you. I was talking to a young person who knew about Election Day on the town meeting on Tuesday, but had no idea that there was a Saturday meeting where there were big decisions being made on the floor. And this was a very bright and articulate young woman with a family and had been living here for a while and had no idea. So we're in competition with everyone else's priorities, but this should be somewhere on the list.
So are there stipulations with how long, what is the time frame that has been used in the past for garnering these letters of interest?
Forthwith.
I feel like we did, what, 30 days or 14 days to ask for the applications and then interview them within the next 14 days. So it was a total of a month.
Scott wasn't here, so
I mean, that's up to you.
that meshes somewhat with my recollection.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
we warned it as of, what day was that? Friday?
I really don't want to rush the decision. And we have to do a good job with it.
Yeah.
So
14 days to submit, and then you have a deadline for 2 weeks from now.
It's tough to line up all those interviews too. It ends
I
up
mean,
getting tricky with.
technically, your
Warning.
announcement on this gave people the indication, because we did get, I mean, we have people that have actually submitted letters, and we also have people that have expressed interest but not submitted letters. So people know that and we have people attending this meeting. So I suspect that we're going to get quite a few perspectives.
Should we say March 24th, 14 days from now? Does that give?
I would say so, because
To me, that's plenty of time.
Fourth?
yeah. Well, it's also, given the fact that, we have press here that are going to write about this, it's going to be in the paper and hopefully. And we've discussed kind of a clearer, with more understanding and more detail, what the path forward needs to be.
So March 24th, the resumes or letters of interest are due, and then we wrap up interviews by the 7th of April. Does that seem reasonable to everyone here?
It'd be a rush.
I am not available the week of April 6th for at least the first half. Just as an
You're
FYI.
going to conduct the interviews with two people?
These are two.
Two, okay.
And at the same time, like in different rooms. They don't.
Yeah, people come in
twice.
once, they interview with one team, they interview with the other team.
Now, when I interviewed, the town manager was also in the interviews.
And when I interviewed, HR was in the interviews as well. I was interviewed by Leslie.
That's a good point.
And when Scott was interviewed, he was interviewed by Doug Kilburn and
That's different though. That's different.
Gordon. I mean, it was,
That's
but
different.
there
That's
was like one other, at least one other.
But when you interviewed, did you interview with?
It was just the select board
That's
team.
what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was two groups of two.
Okay, well, we'll make a decision.
All right, so you'll set in the deadline for the 24th. Okay.
That's the,
I'll I'll amend that notice that we have up and we'll put it on the
And then we'll just
website.
try to schedule it, before you go away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not
It's not impossible.
It's not that time
3 days.
to get through.
Well, we can
unless
just
you get-
do them in groups.
knock it out
Yeah.
in the afternoon or something. Okay.
And in the meantime, we'll need to get answers to the questions.
For the term.
Is the primary election? Is that an appropriate venue for this? Is the general election in the fall? Can we get a question on there? Because that gives us options as to how quickly. we
And
can-
and obviously the completion of the.
2
If
years.
it is the full term.
Yeah, yeah, we need the answer to that. And I suspect it would make it a lot easier if it was
Yeah.
the remainder of the term.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get those answers for you. And we'll amend the notice and we have a deadline of the 24th. Right?
Is there anything else that we have to deal with here this evening?
Any other business the select board might have, but nothing on that.
Thank you everyone for showing up.
Yeah. Nice turnout.
Is it March 17th, St. Patrick's Day?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So lame. We have a meeting that day?
We're green.
It's green.
Look at the Shamrock. It's the second Tuesday we only do.
I know. We bring in some corned beef.
Okay, is there any other business here at the meeting?
What is the decision?
The decision is that we're officially asking for letters of interest, and the deadline for submitting those is March 24th. At which point we will, we need to make the names.
I was gonna say,
We didn't do that. We did not do that.
but the letters are public, I believe.
They would be public documents.
I believe that it would be at least beneficial to have those made public.
And
Who are the
We've
people that
never
are
done
applying?
that. We've never done that before.
Do you remember that?
No, we've never done it before.
Let me get advice from the league on that.
For that? I
Yeah,
don't remember that,
yeah,
but I was during COVID, so we were.
That's another question.
Zoom as well.
yeah.
Fun.
I remember interviewing Heidi in that room and you didn't have a voice.
I know, I was supposed to
I said, she's gonna be a good addition to the board. 'Cause she won't say anything.
say. You
Look
were
at her
right
now.
about that.
Yeah. The process, continue the decision, where we
24th, and then we have till the 7th to finalize our interviews and make a decision. April 7th.
and after that,
Well, we have.
We'll make the appointment, the appointment will be made.
And then we have to decide whether we're gonna do a
And-
special
and
election or let them.
We'll have the answer, at that point, we will have the answers in hand so that we'll know what the appointment is for. Does it get us to a special election? Does it get us to the primary election in August? Does it get us to the full election in November or next town meeting?
so that decision will be out there.
Yeah, because we don't have answers to some of the questions on that yet.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Sorry, beat you to it.
Oh, no, you stole my motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
As we said, our next meeting is St. Patrick's Day.
Not that I have anything to do, but.
There's gonna be a good